Now let's do some basic operations with these variables that we have declared. So remember I declared this variable mark, so we're going to change this to mark uh, Asad, okay, and we're going to declare another variable. We'll call it mark Mike equals to 200, right? And then I'm going to declare a third variable here, and we'll call it uh, total marks equals to, and I want to add the mark of Asad and the mark of Mike and save that to total marks. I'm going to say mark Asad plus mark Mike, and then in the very bottom of the program I'm going to say print total marks. So see, it already knows that there is a variable existing with the name of total marks. That's why it gives it to me. So total marks, I'm gonna run it, and you will see name error mark is not defined. So what happened here is this mark Asad was previously known as mark, and this print statement is actually trying to find a variable with the name mark, and there does not exist anything like that. I've changed mark to mark Asad, so what I have to do here is just change this mark to mark Asad and run it again. So here you would see the end result. The last statement, line number 27, is printing 300 for me. So that's how addition works, and subtractions also works similarly. You just have to change this plus to a minus. Okay. Let's talk about division in Python. So division is also very similar. So I have, let's say, a equals to 22 and b equals to 2. Then I say, so I can say division equals to a divided by b, divided by b, print division. So, and because we already know these values and we don't want to see them anymore, so I'm going to comment these out with these number signs. So when I run this program now, it will give me 16.0, which is 32 divided by 2. So let's say if I have a 34, then 34 divided by 2 would become an integer again, right? But let's say if I have a 35 divided by 2, then you would see it converts this to a 17.5. So that's a double. Uh, the other thing is a modulo operator. So just before this, just gonna say division, and let's discuss about the modulo operator now. So we have a35 and b2. So if I say I'm going to declare another variable, I'm going to say modulo equals to a, and modulo sign is this percentage sign, a modulo b. So what this does, it's going to divide 35 by 2, and whatever the remainder is going to be saved in the modulo. So 35 divided by 2, as we know, is 17.5, but 34 goes completely with 2, right? With a remainder of 0, but then there is 1 left. So the answer in modulo should be 1. So if I print modulo, I'm going to be getting the value of 1 here, right? Let's make another example so that it's more clear. Let's say uh, I'm going to overwrite the value of a to 7. I'm going to say b equals to uh, 5. Actually, let's make a to 12 and b to 5. So now a modulo b would be, so it's going to try to divide 12 by 5. We know 2 multiplied by 5 is 10, so that goes completely, and the 2 is the remainder, right? So in the modulo you will be having a value of 2. Okay, so it's basically everything that can be divided and then plus the remainder. So here you would see the modulo value is changed to 2. Okay, so this is modulo. Third concept I want to discuss on the arithmetic operations is basically exponentials, right, or exponents. So exponent. So what that is for example, I have a equals to 2 and I have b equals to 3. If I do something like I say exponent equals to a and 2 times multiply b, so it's basically saying a power b. So 2 power 3 is 8. So now if I print exponent, it should print for me the value of 8, right? So just to make these print statements more meaningful, what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit these print statements into sentences so we actually understand them more, what the end result of these print statements are. So I'm going to do something like this, right? I'm going to say, so we know this, for example, on line 33 we're printing the division of a with b. So I'm going to say a divided by b is, or uh, the value of a divided by b is. So now what will happen actually is anything that goes in the quote and that goes in the quote is treated as a string. So when I run this, Python will actually print this exact same thing for me. The value of a divided by b is division. See, right? The value of a divided by b is division. But I did not wanted a and b and division values as strings. I wanted the actual value of a and I wanted the actual value of b and I wanted the actual division, actually the real answer, right? So for that to happen, I want to say the value of, and after that I'm going to close this string. So this string closes right here, right? And then a is a variable which is a lowercase a, right? So I'm going to say something like a, and so now this is a string and this is an integer. When I want to print them together, it's called concatenation. So I need to use a plus sign here. So what this will tell Python, it will tell Python, this is a string, this is another variable, concatenate them together. And then again divided by, I want to print that as a string. So I'm going to say plus and put a quote here, and then the value of b, I want to be using the variable that I've declared above. So I'm going to say b. Then again is actually also a string. So I'm going to say is, and then plus division is actually an integer or a float that I want to be printed as a float, right? So now this is all good, except it has one issue, which I will tell you when I run it. It's basically conversion from integer to strings, but let's run it and then we will discuss that. So I'm going to run that now, and it says type error, right? So it's all coming from line 33, and what it says is can't convert int objects to string implicitly. So what's happening is this is a string, right? This is a string and this is an integer, and this is a string and this is an integer. So let's just talk about this string and this integer. So when Python tries to add them up, because we are saying add them up, plus is an sign of adding. When I'm saying add the string into an integer, Python is not able to do that. So it's saying I cannot add an integer to a string. So what we need to do is we need to tell Python that, okay, before adding it, the value of a, even though it's a number, convert that number into a string only for adding purposes. And to do that, we can use a str. It's a built-in function in Python, str a. And same thing we're going to do for the str b, right? And division, it's not an integer, but it's a float. But again, Python will complain because it won't be able to add a string into a float. So we need to convert the value of a float into a string before printing it. So now if I run it, you'll see the value of 35 divided by 2 is 17.5. Now we see there is a space missing here and a space missing here. So we fix that by here. So before divided we want a space, and before is we want a space, and now let's run it. So the value of 35 divided by 2 is 17.5, right? So that's how we made this print statement meaningful. And same thing we can do it here. I'm just gonna copy and paste the exact same thing that we did here into here, and the value of a modulo b is string of the value of modulo. And same thing in the last one, the value of a power, the value of power b is, and then modulo will change into the exponent value, right? So now let's run it. So all three statements should make total sense. The value of 12 modulo 5 is 2, the value of 2 power 3 is 8. So in this tutorial, we have discussed the arithmetic operations of integer strings, right, and doubles and floats.